Hello, everybody. It's Anthony Brogdon. Oh man, I'm coming from you once again. I have so much fun doing this. I don't know what to do, and I have fun doing it because I'm learning something along the way that I can pass along to some people. I got a couple kids. They grown, they good folk and all that. I tell them, I tell everybody I know. And it's just interesting to know the history. And so I've been talking about some Black history for a while now. I got a documentary out. It's called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. That came out in 2017. And then I got my book, Black Business Book. It's over 200 facts on Black business. Again, with an emphasis on Black history business. That came out in 2019, and they're both available on Amazon, and they are on my website, businessintheblack.net. I got to get my little commercial out the way. That's what we do. But the other part of it is, come on, folks, just hit that subscribe button so you can get this information. Hit that like button on one of these videos. Hit that notifications button so that you get that little ping. There's a new video, because I do new videos and I upload them almost every week, at least 2, 3, 4 videos a week. People calling me talking about they got stories they want to tell. So hit that like button. And then, and this is easy, just tell somebody, hey, about Strong Inspirations. Come on, let's get it on. Because hey, check it out. You know what I tell you? It's straight, no chaser. And I don't do the talking. I let them do the talk. I just try to come up with a little question or two to make sure I give you what you need, because I try to figure out what's the angle. You're right. And so here we go. We got a good one here today. This sister right here. See, now I've been to San Diego, California, to show my film on a couple occasions. They like it that much, right? And I heard of her father and his just illustrious career in the hair industry. So this video ain't about slavery. It's about a Black man doing his thing. That's what this one is about. He's an older gentleman, so his daughter is gonna tell her about her father doing his thing. And y'all need to know this story, because we all got hair and it's about hair. So go ahead and tell us who you are. Let's get started, babe. Come on, let's roll.
Thanks, Anthony, for having me. I appreciate that. We hit it off as soon as we spoke to each other.
Yes.
And glad you called.
Yes.
Because this story is actually very important to the economics and the wealth building, or as people would like to say, the wealth gap. But I like to say wealth building, inheritance, of course. And so I'm Cheryl Morrow. I'm the daughter of the great barber who turned from barber into a chemist, an author, a world's expert, businessman, inventor, and just completely left everything on the field when he retired. So I am carrying the torch. I was handed the baton. I took it with grace, and we are on our way to making, my own legacy. And in terms of being on the Zoom with you and making sure that the truth of the past is told, so we can presently and today be able to forge a more secure and profitable future.
Yes. Now, what's your father's name? I didn't get the name. What's his name?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's your father's name?
Yeah, my father is Willie Morrow. He is one of the only African Americans that I know, comb manufacturers, that actually put his name inside of the mold of the combs. So every time Mr. Morrow said, if you don't know who makes your stuff and produces your stuff, then you won't know what you're buying. Right. And so that was very important. But his name is Willie Morrow.
Willie Morrow. So now he and this starts when? Was he in the hair industry? What time frame are we talking about?
He came to San Diego in 1959, but he wanted to have a better life, but this career grew from just being a neighborhood barber and a distiller in Greene County, Alabama,
Oh,
right
so he come
outside
from
of
Alabama.
Tuska. Yeah, he's an Alabama boy.
Yeah.
And, so it started from there. What makes his career so unique is that out of all of the black hair care companies, Mr. Morrow was an actual barber.
Okay.
You know, most, George Johnson, you think of John Johnson of Ebony, which is Duke and Ravine, a relaxer. They were never in the actual barbers or hairstylists. So Mr. Morrow is very unique in that regard.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, but coming and staying with his uncle Spurgeon, who was in the military at that time in 1959 from
Okay, hold on. Let me
Alabama
stop
to
you. Let me
San
go back a
Diego.
little bit. Let me go. Let me get it. So was he cutting hair in Alabama?
Yes, Lucius Morrow. When we went to go bury my grandfather, which is his father, I met Lucius. I think he was 89 then, who taught Mr. Morrow. And he would always say, when the time was to raise their hand, when the teacher in those schools then says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Mr. Morrow said, a barber.
Okay. So your
And how
grandfather was a barber.
everyone was a barber at that time, but no one imagined why Mr. Morrow wanted to do that when everyone else was saying, oh, a fireman, a lawyer, a doctor. Mr. Morrow said, I want to be a barber.
Okay. Yeah, so your grandfather was a barber, and he probably was a barber in the early 1910s, 20s.
Well, see, all of them were barbers, not professionally, because you couldn't do it professionally then. You were barbers for livestock. See, we went from livestock to humans. See, we were doing all the horses and the cattle and sheep and things of that nature. You couldn't do it professionally, not in that sense.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
back then, no,
Okay.
sir.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so but there were black people cutting black people hair even as slaves.
Yeah, yeah. And strangely enough, that is also because of it's an African art form, but most people don't realize, it's so funny. Black men, the African way to shave is from the front. So it made it very weird for African Americans to adjust to that, because you shave and cut hair from the front, not from the back. So
I'm not
here,
following you. What does that mean? Show us. We mean go forward or backwards, or what does that mean?
they sit in front of you,
Right.
and your face
Oh, I
is
see.
in the palm, and they shave you from the front so they can see what they're doing.
Yes.
In the American, North American way, you cut from the back, which was very it's hard to adjust.
Yeah. Oh,
So
sure.
we
Sure.
we came to the American shores already having that skill set.
Okay. So now your great grandfather was a barber in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
He's
And
cutting
great
people
grandmothers
hair.
were hairstylists.
They were
Yeah.
hairstylists.
Mm-hmm.
So he did he have a shop or something like that, or
No,
you just come to the house?
no, it's literally called a shade tree barber. You did it on the street. You did it under the shade tree. You came to their house. No professionalism going on. No,
Okay.
none of that.
All right. How about this? When they were cutting them at the time, they had to use scissors to cut the hair, right? It wasn't no electrical thing or nothing.
No, it was manual, but all of barber tools, beauty tools were created for livestock. Even Europeans, they didn't have those tools were not made for humans
Mm.
because we didn't learn grooming from Europe. Europe didn't really have a tight beauty regimen until early 1900s. You
Mm. Okay.
Africans came here with grooming regimen, techniques, and maneuvers and methods. Europe did not. So, what the beauty industry, in essence, is It's skill sets and maneuvers and techniques and methods that Africans brought to
I
North
got you.
America.
So now
Yeah.
we estimate that most slaves had their hair kind of cut low, or did they have afros, or what was the style maybe?
Well, in the film 400 Years Without a Comb, which you probably are familiar with, he goes through how the plantation is what solidified the proper techniques according to the condition or the standard of living. And so it was Black women covered their hair because they did not have, Black people didn't come to this country with a toiletry bag. So, everything was basically built around the environment. So if you had parasites and the conditions were unhygienic, then the less hair you had, they didn't want to chance it.
I
That's where
see.
greasing your scalp comes from, because parasites and fungus and all those things, follow water and moisture. So that's why greasing the skin and oiling the scalp came from.
I see.
Which is Anthony, a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
How
Sure.
those, because they were to ward off the environment more
I see.
than they didn't have time to get into being attractive and
I got
alluring.
you. I got you.
They were just trying to adjust to the environment.
I got you. I got you. So then,
Yeah.
so now your dad wants to be a barber. His father's a
Mhm.
barber. Does he go to a barber school? Is there barber school somewhere in Alabama, or he just kind of self-taught?
I think that the tradition of Black men, I think that they think that it's a tradition for them to just know their way around some clippers, right? I
Okay.
think that if a Black man was pushed today to not be able to, in the pandemic today, they could really basically cut their own hair.
Okay.
But to be able to professionalize it and go up to the code of of how the proper code of conduct in terms of techniques and the board, you do have to go to school for that.
Okay.
But even before the profession was professionalized, Black men opened up businesses called barbershops and disease preparations. They call it personal care and personal
Yeah. Sure.
preparations. I think
Sure.
that's what they were calling it then. And then some surgery, some mild dentistry.
Yeah.
That is what the barber, was for. So stitching, and if you had a cut or abrasion, you go to a barber and they'll stitch you up,
Hold on. Hold
and
on. You
that kind
saying
of
something I
stuff.
didn't know? Now hold on. You saying that barbers, if you needed some medical attention, you might go to your barber?
Of course, but who made alcohol? Europe didn't make alcohol. Europe didn't really have really good hygiene until you got into the 1900s, well into the 1900s, 1915, 1920, 1930. Their beauty industry started then.
Okay.
Their beauty industry was only for livestock in Europe.
Oh my
They didn't
God.
really
Okay.
have they didn't really have a very strong beauty world or beauty industry. But then I think that the Great Depression created such a devastation economically. White men begin to go into barber school, and
Okay.
that is where they required licensure. That's when the white world took over beauty,
I
because
got
they
you.
didn't have a way to feed their family. So they pushed Black men out and said, oh, okay, now we're going to have all these standards and regulations and
I
all
got you. I
this.
got you.
And then, right.
I got
But Black men were freely taking care of cutting white people and taking care of them, teaching them hygiene, keeping their hands clean, and,
I got you.
all of that good stuff.
I remember growing up, my dad had a little hair cutting thing that it wasn't electric, but it had a blade in it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
ran it over your hair, and maybe you could adjust it to make it long and short. And I might have tried it once, slipped up, cut too much, and I never did it again. But I do remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, so your dad, when does he open up his shop? in California. Does he open up a barber shop in California?
He opened one in San Diego,
In
California.
San Diego. What time is that? What year might that
This
be?
is around this could be 1960, 1963, 1964.
Okay. What was the name
Yeah.
of it?
It was Willie's Barbershop.
Willie's
It was,
Barbershop.
it was Willie's Barbershop, but it was also a shaving clinic because he tackled the ingrown hair problem. And then because of his uncle, and because he was doing it in such a technical way, Anthony, that got the attention of the U.S. military. Yeah, Mr. Morrow, my father was very methodical. He thought that the techniques and things that we were doing in Africa had a method to it. We just didn't do it. So even though he did not know what that method was, he looked at the tools and looked at the design and created a method so it could be commercialized.
I got you. So how many
So
people? How many people
Mhm.
did he? How many barbers did he have at the shop at one point? Was it a big shop or?
I think that he thought it was appropriate to have his uncle. And so he went back to his barber school that was downtown San Diego and picked up the young men and kind of recycled what he was taught as a mentor, a cut mentor. And then he went down to get those and he just duplicated the process of how and it was about, there's several pictures and I'll share those pictures with you, but there's a picture there was about 4 chairs. And but there's a gorgeous picture of Angela Davis with this huge afro, and it's right in the center of this barbershop. I think 1966. It's a beautiful old vintage picture of my dad's shop.
He cut Angela's hair.
I don't know if he cut Angela's hair, but because my father was so forward, he knew that hairstyle was going to be, the front runner. And so
You mean
he
the
had
afro?
it in picture. Yes, he knew that was going to be a style that he was going to anchor his career. He didn't know it wasn't called anything until he named it. It wasn't called anything, but it was. I do a lot of trivia sometimes, and I always ask people what was the afro called before it was the afro, and it was, so it had 2 names actually, and then we split it off. Some people had afros, and some people had a natural.
Oh, I got
But
you.
it
I
was
remember that.
right.
So,
So it
did
was.
he do? Did he do any celebrities or politicians or something like that in the
Well,
early days at his barbershop?
I know that sometimes he would go off site and he would do toupees for like Tony Bennett, um, Willie McCovey. Uh, he would cut Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, all those football players at that time, because my father was the only off-site ticket outlet for the San Diego Chargers. That's how he was cutting Ernie Barnes. Um, and just a whole brass of high military elite.
Okay.
Know,
So
his
then
last
from there
client, I
he
think, was.
grows, and I'm leading you to your next point, I guess. He goes from there, and then he starts doing some military and traveling the world with the military. Tell that story.
Like I tell people, the military was very forward in accommodating the Afro-ness and the blackness of how Black people wanted to wear their hair at the time, and did not force Black men and Black women into white standards of beauty.
Dad, what did he do with the military? He had a career.
He made it. Yeah, he made sure that they had the books. See, here we go again. He made sure that there was a method. He wanted to, and even if he didn't know what he was doing, Anthony, see, this is the key. He didn't get taught how to take care of Afro hair. He assumed that the responsibility that I have to put this together. I got to put this in a curriculum. I got to put this in a book, in a magazine. I got to take pictures. I got to create the textbooks. I got to create the manuals. I got to create the how to do it. And so he did this without even being formally taught how to do it. He just got this whole spiritual download of how to take care, and to put this stuff together. So he put it in film strips and pictures and TV shows that he did in every continent. So he was.
Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I got it. So he did that and then consulted the military so that they knew how to treat Black people's hair and cut their hair.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he went across the country or what?
Yeah, he won the contract, right? By answering one question, and it was about 250 barbers that were coming up for this contract, and they asked him, why do Black men, they were puzzled why he focused on Black men's hair bump problem. And so, the white doctor PhDs asked Mr. Morrow, and he said, why do Black men, what's wrong with their skin? Do Black men actually have different skin? So Mr. Morrow says to them, well, do they get a hair bump here? Do they get a hair bump here? And do they get a hair bump in sideburns? And so the doctor said, no, they don't get hair bumps there. He said, so they don't have different skin. They have a technique that is not indigenous to their hair texture.
Okay.
He says, and that's what I'm going to teach you. And so they said, oh, okay, we got this smart Black man here, fine.
So he won the contract for the Army, the Navy, or what? What branch?
All armed forces. All armed forces.
And
all the
so
way from
he
West
went
Point.
around the world teaching them, or how did that go?
Right. He went around the world to teach in every continent where there was a military base, where there were Black people. Netherlands, Turkey, Okinawa, Japan, Latin America, Philippines, Russia, Germany, all of those things. So he taught them how to specifically take care of Afro curly hair.
Wow.
He wasn't interested in hair. That's not what he did. It's a specific texture. And as he would call it, I teach you how to take care dominant hair types, not recessive hair types.
Okay. So this is when, about the 70s or what?
No, this is because the comb happened first. The Afro comb happened first. So he went on tour and took the commercialized version that he created in North America and took it right back outside the continent and had it be the companion for his curriculum of how to take care of Black people. So then, so he said, you just don't have, you just can't comb the hair with a pick. You have to hold the pick right. You got to hold it. Then it's a direction of how you pick it. And then it's, and then he began to create actually specific teeth on the comb that accommodated Afro texture.
Okay.
So my dad was, he was deep with it.
Yeah, sound like, so let me get to this. So what he did is he came out with his own Afro pick.
Mm-hmm. 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 His own version of a pick that a man named Robert Bell went. It was his client. And he said, "Oh, Mr. Morrow, I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Ghana. Blah 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 blah. Brother, I'll be back. Blah 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 blah." So he comes back. He says, I saw this weird implement, brother, and I bought one, and I wanted to bring it back to you. So here. And so in the 400 Years Without a Comb film, Mr. Morrow takes the comb and looks at it. It's all weird, It's got teeth, that he's never seen before. He's only seen combs in America, that are created for straight hair. And so he began to carve 250, $250,000 with his hand. And how he distributes those, he put those on on the Greyhound bus. He used the marches and the protests to sell his combs. So, you know, that was first. And then as the comb began to flow freely through the hair, well, then now Black people can wear just their hair in the natural state. And since the comb was from Africa, Mr. Morrow called it Afro natural, and then the Afro comb. And then
The
that's how
Afro
that.
comb.
Mhm.
Wow. So he,
Yeah.
if not to give away any trade secrets, let's say, what was the difference between the teeth of his comb and the teeth of the comb that came from Africa or something like that? Were they skinnier? Had a little
No.
niche in the end? Was there anything different about the teeth?
Well, the difference is, I think, in Mr. Morrow wanted to actually design the teeth to have openings and curves in them. So when the coils come around the teeth, they would maneuver much more freely than they did, but just because the space between the teeth accommodated thick curly hair. He wanted the teeth to not just be spaced wide, but he wanted the teeth to be the shape of a curl. So then he began to create combs with that specific teeth. And then the US Congress awarded him a utility patent because of it.
Oh, really? So now, and then he grew into some products too, didn't he? Didn't he have a line of products? Was it hair relaxers and perms? It was just the comb that he did.
Well, no, he went from the comb to the blowout. So now he wanted to make the afro, the curls a little larger and the hair softer. So when he got the blowout, he created the curl for the women and men in the military as the families. He couldn't create it for the military personnel because they couldn't wear that. But he created that curl inside and started using their families as the guinea pigs for the curl inside of the families.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember the
blowout
curl.
To the curl.
Yeah, I remember the blowout. I remember the curl. My hair never did grow too well, but I remember it. Is he? He's got some patents on inventions.
You can patent the teeth if you make the comb different and have some distinctive designs. But the comb in of itself is ubiquitous.
Yeah.
I remember John Johnson and George Johnson calling my dad. And George Johnson is Ultra Sheen.
Yeah.
And Johnson Products. And John Johnson actually was in the hair business, beauty business. He just used Ebony and Jet as a way to advertise those businesses. But I remember when they called him and they said, I think my father could have been about 27, 28. I could have been, maybe he was a little older than that because he was still traveling into the commissary. So they said, look, young man, I know you're in the commissaries. We want you to take Duke, Ravine, and Ultra Sheen and take those to the commissaries. And in return, I'll make sure your family is taken care of. So I got your family. John Johnson said, I'll give you all the advertising in Ebony and Jet that you want. And plus, I'll send a cameraman on your tours so you can capture your life. So it was a good exchange.
Hey, thank you so very much for coming on Strong Inspirations. I'm surprised a lot of people didn't know of your dad. They will now, because we're going to blast this out. They're going to watch this one because they're going to subscribe to the channel. They're going to hit the like button. They're going to hit the notification button. They're going to tell people about Strong Inspirations, about my book and my movie and all that good stuff. Thank you, Cheryl, for coming on here and sharing information about your dad. On the book. Yeah. Sharing information about your dad. Oh, yeah. We're going to stay in touch. Everybody, check it out. I'm telling you, Strong Information. I got my hair together. Get your hair
I got mine too.
Yes. Everybody, much love. Stay strong. Stay safe. We out. Bye-bye.